Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're taking a look at a really fascinating set of documents. They're all centered around this place called Clark's Harbor.
Yeah, it's quite a collection. We've got excerpts, some notes, observations.
hmm
It looks like they're from a work called Cry for the Strangers,
Mm.
and they paint this picture of, well, a remote coastal town.
A remote town where it seems being an outsider is problematic, to say the least.
Definitely unsettling. So our job today really is to sift through these accounts you've got here, try to figure out the patterns, the people involved.
And what's really going on? What's the core mystery, the force at play in Clark's Harbor?
Well, right away, the sources establish Clark's Harbor as, yes, isolated geographically, but also deeply insular. There's this powerful distrust of anyone not from there.
An unwelcoming shore, that phrase really sticks.
It does. And this attitude, it isn't just general vibes, it's embodied by key figures.
Like Police Chief Harney Whalen, he's the main authority figure.
Right. And he's not just wary. The notes describe him as outright hostile toward strangers.
And his nephew, Chip Connor, who's also his deputy, he observes something deeper, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He connects Whalen's attitude to some kind of disturbing personal history.
Exactly. Chip notices it goes beyond just, small town suspicion.
Yeah.
It's tied to something specific about Whalen and this town.
Chip seems like an interesting figure himself, part of the town, but maybe a little more questioning.
Maybe. A bit more open, perhaps. His observations are definitely crucial. Then there's Merle Glind, the innkeeper.
Yeah.
Nervous. Seems wary of strangers, but also the police, which is interesting.
Suggests tensions within the town, too, not just directed outward.
And we also meet Mac Riley, an old fisherman.
Chip's grandfather.
Yeah, presented as the keeper of the town's history, its legends. And it's through him, and actually Chief Whalen too, surprisingly, that we learn about the big one. The Clickashaw legend about Sod Beach.
Ah, Sod Beach. That name.
It used to be called the Sands of Death, which tells you something.
Definitely sets a tone. So what's the legend?
It involves a group called the Storm Dancers. According to the stories Riley shares, this cult used to execute strangers horrifically
Ow.
by burying them in the sand on Sod Beach at high tide.
Oh, that's grim. A really specific, gruesome local history tied to that exact spot.
And it hangs over everything that happens next. Because, of course, outsiders do arrive.
Right, the sources focus on two families in particular.
First, you've got the Palmers, Glenn, Rebecca, and their kids, Robby and Missy. They're moving from Seattle.
And their reason for choosing Clark's Harbor, of all places, is very specific. It's about their son, Robby.
Yes, he has severe hypokinesis, constant movement. But the key thing, the reason they stay despite the town's coldness, is that his symptoms completely disappear.
Only when he's on Sod Beach.
Only there. It's uncanny. They want to open an art gallery, try to make a life there because of this effect on Robby.
Talk about a double-edged sword. Seeking healing in the town's most historically dangerous place. And the other family,
The Randalls, Brad and Elaine. Brad's a psychiatrist, and he's also a writer.
looking for peace and quiet to write a book.
That's the initial reason given. Elaine mentions it's some kind of technical book, maybe about biorhythms. But it's hinted pretty quickly that Brad becomes more interested in studying the town itself, the strange events happening there.
So he's got a professional curiosity, maybe?
Seems like it. Elaine, though, she finds the town charming at first, but that fades fast. She gets a bad feeling pretty quickly.
And, well, based on the sources, her instincts are spot on. Because things start happening almost immediately. Tragic things.
Yes, and often linked to storms, which becomes a recurring theme. First, there's Pete Schelling. He drowns during a storm, supposedly got caught in his net while fishing alone.
Supposedly. But his wife, Miriam, doesn't buy it.
No, she insists it wasn't an accident. She starts demanding an investigation, and then she's found dead.
Hanged. Near the Palmer's cabin, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the sources mentioned she'd given Glenn Palmer this chilling warning just before about them getting him too, so it escalates fast.
Definitely moves beyond accident territory. And Elaine Randall has her own disturbing encounter early on, right?
He does. Finds a dead dog buried on Sod Beach. Its neck is broken.
Oh.
Her reaction is pure shock. She wants out of Clark's Harbor immediately. But Brad,
He's calmer, more dismissive.
yeah, tries to rationalize it, maybe play it down. His curiosity seems to outweigh the immediate danger signals for him.
And how do the actual townspeople react to these early deaths?
It's telling. There's a kind of resignation, almost. Some dismiss Pete Schelling's death, shouldn't have gone out alone in the storm, that sort of thing.
Fatalism?
Maybe. But others, like Mac Riley, seem to have this quiet understanding, like they know there's something else going on, something older.
So despite Elaine wanting to leave, the Randalls stay because of Brad's interests.
His growing fascination. And they end up renting the old Barron house, which is located there.
Right on Sod Beach, of course.
Naturally. And this house has its own dark history. It's linked to the sands of death, legend, previous tenants met bad ends.
Including Whalen's grandparents, didn't you say? And the Baron himself, who later drowned.
Exactly. The sources even describe the house as primitive, forbidding. Like the place itself is steeped in dread.
And while they're settling in there, something happens to the Palmers.
Right. Glenn Palmer's planned art gallery gets vandalized. During a storm, again, painting shredded, pottery smashed.
And this comes after Chief Whalen had already been sort of actively obstructing Glenn's efforts, right? There was that weird incident with the siren.
Yeah. Whalen's behavior is consistently hostile towards the Palmers. But interestingly, it's Chip Connor, Whalen's nephew, who steps up and helps Glenn clean up the mess and repair things.
Shows that internal dynamic again. Not everyone is monolithic in their hostility.
True. But the overall tension between the newcomers and the town is definitely escalating. Whalen confronts Brad about trivial things, like parking, just radiating antagonism.
And Chip even has a conversation with Glenn, basically saying how hard it is, maybe impossible, for an outsider to truly fit in there.
Yeah, laying it bare. And then things get even worse. More deaths.
Which leads to new theories, particularly from Brad.
We get introduced to Jeff and Max Horton, a couple of fishermen staying at Merle Glines Inn.
Okay.
Another storm hits. Max's boat, the Osprey, ends up on the rocks. Explodes.
And Max?
Jeff finds his body. On Sod Beach.
Let me guess. Broken neck.
Broken neck, just like the dog. The pattern is becoming terrifyingly clear.
And it doesn't start there, does it?
No. Rebecca Palmer, Glenn's wife. She's found dead on the porch of their cabin. Again during a storm.
How?
Strangled. Neck broken.
My God. The same signature. Storms, sod booch nearby, broken necks.
Exactly. And this is where Brad Randall, the psychiatrist, really starts developing his theory.
Okay, what's his take?
He thinks the storms are the key. Not just weather, but some kind of trigger. He posits that they're affecting certain people psychologically, causing them to, well, to become violent. Monsters, basically.
Some induced psychosis.
Something like that. He points to the timing, the Shellings, the Hortons, Rebecca Palmer, even the vandalism. It all lines up with the storms.
It's a rational explanation in a way. A psychological breakdown triggered by an environmental factor.
It is. But the sources offer another angle, complicating things. It involves Chief Whalen himself.
We talked about his hostility, his past trauma.
Well, now we learn he has physical symptoms during storms, these spells. His hands twitch. He seems to black out sometimes.
Whoa.
And Chip, talking with his grandfather, Mac Riley, connects this directly to Whalen's childhood trauma, finding his own grandparents buried on Sod Beach, drowned, just like the old Clickashaw legends described.
So Chip and Max suspect Whalen isn't just haunted by the memory, but that he is actively, physically affected by the storms, by the place itself.
That's the implication, that maybe the trauma made him susceptible, or maybe it's something inherent to the place affecting certain people, including Whalen.
So you have Brad's psychological storm trigger theory on one hand.
And on the other, this deeper, more localized idea rooted in trauma, legend, and the possibility that the place itself exerts some kind of malevolent influence.
And caught right in the middle of all this is Robby Palmer.
The boy whose hyperkinesis disappears on Sod Beach. His connection to the place is central and deeply mysterious.
Why they came there in the first place.
Exactly. And his experience of the storms is completely different from everyone else's fear.
He likes them.
Likes them. Says they make him feel good, excited. There's this chilling line where he feels he belongs on the beach, unlike his family who he sees as the strangers.
Wow. That's incredibly disturbing. He's identifying with the place over his own family.
And his sister, Missy, she provides the counterpoint. She's terrified during the storms. She feels something is out there. See shapes, figures moving.
Does she see Robby differently?
She has this dream. Robby seems big, she says, and not like him. It's a child's perspective, but it suggests some kind of frightening change or presence associated with him during the storms.
And this builds towards the end of the material we have.
He does, towards a really horrifying climax centered on Robby, during the last storm described in these excerpts.
After Rebecca's death.
Yes. Robby is out there, waiting for that excitement he feels. He sees shapes again, hears voices this time.
What do they say?
They tell him to join the dance, the storm dancers.
No.
He seems to understand, on some level, that the strangers, his family included, don't belong there. And the text says he gives himself up to them, to the storm dancers, and their cry for the strangers.
So he joins them, becomes part of whatever that force is.
That's the terrifying implication. The sources leave us right there. We see Rebecca's funeral, the grief.
And what happens to Chief Whalen? You mentioned his spells.
He disappears during that final storm, right after Rebecca is found. His body is never recovered.
Vanished.
Vanished. And Chip reflects on it, thinking about his uncle, about the legends, wondering if the place finally got to him, echoing his grandfather's beliefs about the beach.
So the sources end with Whalen gone, and Robby apparently joining this entity or phenomenon, the storm dancers.
Pretty much. The central mystery, what exactly are the storm dancers? Supernatural. A local condition. Mass hysteria. It's left unresolved. We don't know if Robby is now trapped or transformed or something else.
Just assimilated into the pattern.
Into that terrifying rhythm. The past bleeding into the present on the sands of death.
Okay, so pulling back after this deep dive into these Clark's Harbor sources, what are we left with? It's a lot.
It really is. We've got this picture of a place where history isn't just remembered, it feels active, alive almost, where storms and violence seem inextricably linked.
And where being an outsider isn't just uncomfortable, it's potentially lethal.
Yeah, and we have these competing explanations laid out within the sources themselves. Brad's theory, storms triggering psychological breaks, turning people into monsters.
Which seems plausible, given the timing.
Plausible, yes. But then you have the weight of the ancient legends, the Clickishaw stories, the storm dancers, the sands of death, these patterns repeating across generations.
Right. And Mac Riley's perspective, the old fisherman, just accepting the beach itself is dangerous.
Inherently so.
Right. Maybe something elemental tied to the very sand and sea there. The sources show people struggling to make sense of it all, facing loss, terror.
And that really chilling idea that the place itself might have agency, that it decides who belongs and who needs to be dealt with.
Brad saw the monsters within people, triggered by storms. Chip wondered about his uncle being consumed by trauma and the sea's influence. Mac Riley just saw the beach living up to its deadly name.
But maybe the most disturbing takeaway is Robby, the outsider child who found this strange piece there, this connection.
Only to potentially become part of the very horror his family was fleeing, in a way. Drawn into that cry for the strangers.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? When you encounter something like this, these events that defy simple explanation, how do you even begin to sort it out?
Exactly. How much is coincidence? How much is psychology under extreme stress? How much weight do you give to deeply rooted local folklore, these persistent legends? And what if there is something else, something inexplicable, tied to the place itself?
And that final thought, what does it mean if the place you choose, for refuge, for healing even, fundamentally rejects you? Or worse, demands you become part of its darkness?